I want to bring into the conversation now the Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, Minister Velenkosini Hlabisa, to join us. And of course, as the Premier said, that they've already made an application to the effect of the declaration of a state of disaster in the province. The Minister joins us now. Minister, good evening. Thank you so much for your time. Really do appreciate it. From a national level, you would have assessed the damage between Limpopo and Mpumalanga over the last couple of days. What sort of interventions are at your disposal as a national government at this moment?
Good evening, my brother, and good evening to the viewers of SABC, the Premier who has been just on the platform. Indeed, the situation is devastating. Currently in Limpopo, in Mpumalanga, as well as Northwest. We are collating the information. Our technical team, as the Premier said, they received the last information this afternoon around 4 o'clock, and we are working to ensure that we follow the necessary steps towards the declaration of a disaster as the request has been made and as the situation dictates. The magnitude of damage is very huge, and it's very unfortunate. As we see, this is moving from one province to the other. Last year, it was Eastern Cape. This year, it's Limpopo. And this is very sad, especially in the loss of life, as well as the property, as we see the damage on the ground.
Minister, when you say that the necessary steps have to be followed in order to declare a state of disaster in those provinces, could you outline to us what those steps are, given the information that you have at your disposal at the moment?
Firstly, before we do a declaration of a disaster, we need to get the information other than seeing with our eyes, but we need to get a concrete information from the provinces. As I have said, this afternoon at 4 o'clock, we received the last reports from the 2 provinces at most. And while we are still waiting for the Northwest, and probably by tomorrow, we will have taken a direction on the basis of the information in front of us in terms of the declaration of a disaster in the affected provinces.
Yeah. The scale, like I said, we spoke about the financial assessment of the damage of the scale of the damage rather. By Tuesday, Limpopo province had assessed at least 100 million rand worth of damages in the province. By then, of course, that continued on Wednesday and today on Thursday. So that number far exceeds 100 million at this stage. If a state of disaster is to be declared, what financial resources would be made available for response to the disaster on the one hand, but also for repair and rebuilding critically damaged infrastructure?
Once a declaration of a disaster has been made, this activates all 3 spheres of government, firstly, to reprioritize their budgets. Because, my brother, the major issue, just on Tuesday, we were doing the review of the budget, and in order to solicit extra money, it becomes a process. But what becomes quicker is for the review of current budgets from each department in terms of intervening. A declaration activates all departments to look at what they have, how they can intervene immediately. What is beyond what the departments can do, it's a process that could be taken through to the Minister of Finance to allow, once we have concluded the exact extent and the amount needed, to see what can be done, because currently we are ready to intervene in what happened in Eastern Cape last year. And unfortunately, that is why we are considering now the insurance, because insurance acts quicker than looking at the government purse, because you need to go through processes before you actually make money available through the government processes.
Yeah, one always wonders whether Sasria has the necessary liquidity to respond to the frequency of disasters that we experience in South Africa, particularly on publicly insured infrastructure. But Minister, are we learning tough lessons here about our disaster readiness, our disaster preparedness, and our disaster response protocol, given the lessons we learned in Mthatha in the Eastern Cape last year, as well as in KwaZulu-Natal the year before that, and now in Mpumalanga and Limpopo? Of course, let's not forget about the Western Cape, which has been battling with ravaging fires there too. Of course, the scale of the devastation seems to be a lot more contained there, given the nature of that disaster. But it seems as though every time we're met by a disaster, there's a scrambling for resources in a way that questions, at least puts an indictment on our preparedness.
My brother, the truth that we must accept, we are living in a situation which we had not been expecting. Like, for instance,
Go ahead, Minister. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was saying the unfortunate situation, the climate change is putting us in a situation which had not been predicted for over a period of time. And the flow of water occurs where people have been living for decades. And all of a sudden, we are pushed into a corner by the water levels, which is a situation that is very difficult. That is why we are exploring now the insurance option, because you do not know which province is going to be the following year or the following month. But if we ensure the infrastructure, we are looking at the options other countries that has been living with the climate change for quite a longer period and have opted to insurance response. That will be the only quickest method that will make South Africa able to respond. Other than that, the government procurement process is not as quick as you wish, but the insurance process is faster than how the government can respond. Because if you don't follow the processes, corrupt activities will creep in and the money will eventually go to wrong hands, other than assisting the rebuilding of the affected communities.
Yeah, Minister, thank you so much for your time this evening. Really do appreciate it. That's the Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, Minister Velenkosini Hlabisa.